Hey everybody, welcome back to Alive Again Alliance's glimpse into the Bible. I'm glad you're with us today. Today we're going to be diving into some pretty powerful chapters. Zechariah chapter 6, Ezra chapter 5 and 6, and Zechariah 7 and 8. This is where God's story of rebuilding takes a big turn. You ever start something for God and then life happens? You get discouraged, distracted, maybe a little tired, and suddenly that fire that was burning bright, well, it's down to a flicker. That's exactly what was happening with God's people in these passages. Let's rewind for just a second. The Israelites had returned from exile, ready to rebuild the temple. They had their mission, their blueprints, and their passion. But then opposition hit. The neighbors didn't like what they were doing. The government sent letters to question their motives, and fear started creeping in. Sound familiar? When you take a stand for God, you'll always face some resistance. In Ezra 5, we see the prophets Haggai and Zechariah show up on the scene. God's divine mediators. They start preaching, saying, "Hey guys, God hasn't changed his mind. Get back to building." Here's the thing. The people listened. They got back to work. And that's when opposition came again. Some officials, Tatania and company, basically sent a cease and desist letter to King Darius asking who told these people they could rebuild. But instead of giving up, the Israelites stood firm and trusted God to handle it. Fast forward to Ezra chapter 6, King Darius checks the royal archives and finds the decree from King Cyrus. The original order saying, "Let them rebuild the temple of God in Jerusalem." And not only does Darius affirm it, he goes above and beyond. He says, "Let them build, and I'll pay the expenses from the royal treasury." Talk about divine reversal. The same government that tried to stop them ended up funding the project. Now, while all that's happening in Ezra, the prophet Zechariah is getting visions from God. In Zechariah 6, we see a vision of heavenly chariots going out to patrol the earth. It's a picture of God's sovereignty, his control over all nations. It's a reminder, even when things look chaotic, God, he's still in charge. Then in Zechariah 7, some people come to ask the prophet, "Hey, should we keep fasting like we did back in exile?" And God basically says, "Were you really fasting for me? Or just going through the motions?" Ouch. That's convicting, isn't it? God was saying, don't just do religious stuff. Let your heart match your habits. And then comes the beautiful promise in Zechariah 8, a chapter packed with hope. God says, I will return to Zion and dwell in Jerusalem. Old men and women will sit in the streets again. Boys and girls will play in the city squares. What a picture of restoration. God saying, you thought your best days were behind you? Think again. I'm not finished with you yet. So, here's some final thoughts. God finishes what he starts, even when opposition comes. Even when it feels like your efforts are wasted. He's the God who rebuilds broken things, and he often does it through ordinary people who simply refuse to quit. So, maybe you've got a temple in your life that's halfway built. Maybe it's your marriage, your ministry, your faith, or even your relationship with God. The message from Zechariah and Ezra is the same. Pick up your tools and start again. Because here's the truth. The same God who stirred the heart of a pagan king to fund the temple is the same God who can move mountains for you today. So don't give up. Don't stop building. God's not done with your story. He's just getting started. Well, God bless you. Until next time, have a great and blessed day.